because the ones he knows won't come forward and they're scared. And they should be scared. They better just go public right now. Listen, this could have stayed in the closet earlier, okay, and focused on other issues, but now that it's out, it's got to all come out.
Well,
I'm going to warn everybody.
Now once Alex Jones is talking about it with the biggest InfoWarrior action committee on the planet, absolutely it needs to come out completely.
Yeah, but Rick Perry's a gangster. I mean, if he'll force shots on girls he knows is going to kill them, I don't want him to send a hit team over to my house. And I'll say right now, ladies and gentlemen, that if I get killed or something, you know where to look. I mean, these people are dangerous. I want to preface this because I know a lot of national media is tuning in and will be tuning in. Mr. Morrow contacted me about a month ago. He can correct me on the time frame, but it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I went and listened to the message in my phone. And the name rung a bell, and then I asked around about him, and Steve Mason, who's been doing Access TV for 16 years that I've known, and believe me, Steve Mason's no operative, great patriot. He knows Morrow and vouches for him. Richard Reeves, I've known for, I guess, more than a decade, but you've worked with us and gone on events and shoots for us for off and on for the last 6, 7 years. You vouch that he's the real deal. He's a real libertarian, goes around knocking on doors with you, 4 years ago for Ron Paul. You knew him years before that. And listening to his message, I didn't call him back because anybody who lives in Austin has heard about Rick Perry and the reports that he is a philanderer. Now, listen, I'm a Christian, but I don't get on a moral high horse, okay? And sex is not an issue I get into with politicians. I go after Rick Perry for the forced inoculations of girls with a dangerous vaccine that they knew was killing people in the trials, trying to hand over 8,000 miles of Texas roads to Centra of Spain, even when the legislature said no. The fact that he worked for Al Gore as his chief of staff in Texas for his campaign, this is all admitted. The fact that Karl Rove is handling him, and they had that fake pledge that he wasn't going to run in 2012. I told you it was fake. Then I got creeped out when a Fox News host, off record, called me, and a very well-known person, I'll just leave it at that, and said, Rick Perry pulled me aside, this is last year, and said, there's 2 people I fear. And then they added the addendum of a local politician as well, but Ron Paul and Alex Jones. And I'm like, I don't think of myself as that big. I mean, sure, after Drudge, we're bigger than WorldNet Daily now, bigger than Newsmax. I mean, we're the biggest thing out there. I don't really talk about that because I like to be under the radar, but we're growing exponentially, but the establishment knows. And the things that Robert Morrow talks about is the type of things I've heard. But, people put out the false statement that, I work for the Vatican or Israel or that I'm a reptoid from Planet Pop-Tart. So I didn't break this story here, even though, it's national news. I didn't break it here, and I just wanted to wait and see what came out of it. And so joining us for the next 20 minutes, we may even go longer, is Robert Morrow. And if you go to the Washington Post, Salon, hundreds of other publications, the headline is, have you ever had sex with Rick Perry? And the ad reads, it's going to be in the Chronicle newspaper, have you ever had sex with Rick Perry? Are you a stripper, an escort, or just a young hottie impressed by an arrogant, entitled governor of Texas? Contact Cash, and we will help you publicize your direct dealings with the Christian buzzword spouting, family values hypocrite and fraud, Committee Against Sexual Hypocrisy, Robert Morrow, Cash president, and then it's got his phone number and information. So I want to bring him up now to tell his side of the story, because off air you told me that you've got people who tell detailed stories, similar stories, people the names of strip bars that you're an aficionado of and you're proud of, and that they're scared to go public, so that's why you're throwing chum in the water and now making this a national story. So, Robert Morrow, you've got the floor. Tell us your side of things.
Good to be here, Alex. Here's the issue. Rick Perry has been living a rampantly bisexual, adulterous double life. Yet he runs around, campaigning on Christian values and Bible buzzwords and going on stage in Houston with extremist preachers and spouting a lot of very anti-gay rhetoric. A few years ago here in Austin, I came across some young women, strippers, young hotties, escorts, etc., who had had direct dealings with Rick Perry and his entourage. The way it works is that Rick Perry, like Tiger Woods, has an enabling entourage who gets him strippers to play around with, who rents the hotel rooms, who calls the escort services, and happened to run across some of these women. One of these women was a local popular stripper here in Austin, Texas, and she said that one night that she was up on stage and a man came up to her and he said, "Here's $500. That's just for starters. That's just for coming with me." And she said, "Sure," because $500 is what she would be making in a whole night through table dances, tips, etc. So she went with a guy. This was a couple of years ago. And so they took her out, and the next thing you know, she was with Rick Perry. And so when she got with Rick Perry, she started, playing around with him, trying to, I'll be not too graphic here, trying to give him a Monica Lewinsky, a.k.a. oral sex. And then here's where her direct words to me, about a few years ago, she said, "I think he was too coked up to get it up, to perform sexually." And then when it came time for her to leave, Rick Perry gave her an outrageous amount of money, well into the four digits. I think he was trying to keep her quiet, but instead he made a story out of it by giving her that much money. And Rick Perry is not a very rich man. He's only worth $1 million or $2 million or so. And so it makes me think that Rick Perry probably, I'm assuming here, is taking either bribes or illegal gifts to fund his extracurricular activities.
Well, again, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't... Was it about a month ago you called me? How long ago was that you called me?
It's about a month ago.
And you got my cell phone number, so I thought, wait, how does this guy have my cell phone number? And then I asked around. They go, oh, yeah, he's a big libertarian activist, goes around knocking on hundreds of doors. It turns out about everybody I know, for going back decades, knows you. And they say, no, that guy's real. But at the end of the day, how do you know that strippers aren't lying to you? I mean, they're notorious liars.
Well, who are you going to believe, Alex? A stripper, an escort, or a politician? Okay? It's more than one. So then I came across another young lady who's had direct dealings with Rick Perry's entourage. And what she told me was this member of her entourage told her, he said that when Rick Perry goes on the road, he gets the young hotties. That was the phrase he used. He says that they take the young hotties back to Rick's hotel room. They're literally having orgies and group sex there. It might be, Rick Perry having sex with, one woman, on a sofa or a bed, and his buddy having sex with another young woman on another bed. These women are about the age of Rick Perry's 24-year-old daughter, Sydney. Is that Rick Perry is sitting on a keg of slut-fueled nitroglycerin that, if it ever exploded, would make Anthony Weiner look like a mere pimple popping. This second lady who I spoke to, she's very credible. And the reason why is...
Yeah, but I don't ever cover sexual issues. Even when I get stuff, I leave it alone. I say I don't want it. I've got you here because here it is. It's in full-page ad in the local paper. Now I can cover it. I don't even like covering it. But I just want to be on record that this is not my idea. You did contact me a month ago, and I chickened out. Correct, sir?
Yeah, that's correct. Now, let me tell you about the second lady and why she's so credible. Of course, I'm not going to name any names because these women, for whatever reason, have decided not to come forward. The reason I ran this ad is an appeal for people, for strippers, escorts, young hotties, and gay lovers to quit covering for this guy. Come forward and find a reporter. I'll find you a good one. If you don't want to go on the record, you can at least be background material. But it's very important to expose to America who Rick Perry is and how he behaves in such a hypocritical...
Well, let me stop you. If this stuff's real,
yep,
and if you're not being fed a line of bull, maybe they went and picked an activist out that just has Karl Rove written all over it if it is staged, as a psyop to get us away from all the real issues. If this is real, you don't have time with these women and these men to have them go talk to a reporter in the newspaper. Then editors will block these stories. They've got to go on YouTube now. They've got to call a press conference. Listen to me, Morrow. I told the D.C. madam this. I told Gary Webb, who was trying to send me info and stuff right before he was killed. And he said, I want to come on your show once the new book comes out. And I said, if you've got all this stuff, don't even tell me over the phone. You've got to go public now. And then they came and shot him twice in the head. You know about how many people Bill Clinton had killed in Arkansas to cover stuff up like this with women? I mean, I'm just telling you, if this is real, buddy, I'm telling you, you are a dead man if you don't get this information out and quick. And all these other women and men, they're going to start getting killed. And I'm not talking about by Rick Perry, but by the corporate interest that walk up and say, hey, we're here to help you.
Well, Alex, that's why it's important for people to come public. You get a little measure of safety when you become public because you're a public figure. But back to the second one.
No, you get the only measure of safety. The fact that you're here now and I'm talking about this gives it some protection.
All right, secondly, I'm going to walk you through all the reason it's so credible is because so many people have told me this, okay? So the second woman was very credible, the one who had dealings with Rick Perry's entourage. She's educated. She knows her way around the political world here in Austin, Texas, and she was just leveling with me. And so she's not like some, 17-year-old runaway on drugs. She's completely credible. The third person is a young lady who knows one of the top popular escorts in Austin, who is either here or used to be here. And she said that this other escort, had a tryst with Rick Perry in one of the nicer hotels here in Austin. So that's three sources. So I want folks to know this. I'm not 99% sure that Rick Perry is a rampant adulterer. I'm 100% sure.
Now, Richard Reeves is here. Richard, you've known this guy, you said 5-6 years?
Yeah, I've known Robert 5 or 6 years. We've pounded the streets and handed out brochures in his neighborhood and canvassed for Ron Paul in the past. But Robert is a big believer in a statement that you frequently make where you say, duty is ours, consequences are God's. And Robert, I know that you live by this as well.
Absolutely, Richard. And what this ad is, folks, for all the folks out listening there, millions of Americans right here, this is an appeal to quit covering for Rick Perry. You can contact me at familyvalueshypocrite@gmail.com, familyvalueshypocrite@gmail.com. I will find you a reporter to get your story out, or at least get it on background. Thirdly, Alex, living here in Austin, we discussed this. You and I and many others have heard many, many rumors about Rick Perry being a homosexual or having gay affairs.
I have asked state police at the Capitol, high level, off record, years ago, and I said, is there any truth to this stuff? And they just said, you don't even want to know. And I said, well, tell me. And they're like, no way.
Yeah, well, what it is, Alex, is that Rick Perry is not just gay, he's bisexual, okay? So this Monday, on the 15th, I believe, I got a phone call from an incensed homosexual, and he told me this. He says, Robert, after seeing Rick Perry on that stage in Houston with all those extremist preachers, the ones who are, double extra anti-gay with all their rhetoric, I just can't take it anymore. He said to me, my ex's ex had sex with Rick Perry, a gay fling with Rick, years ago before he became governor. And so me and my friend, we're going to try and talk him to go in public. So
okay, well, why haven't you just gone to the press, and maybe I've missed it, and talked about all this? Why are you running the ad? Just to get other people even more to come forward? I mean, how do you know they're not going to put a fake person forward who later then recants? I mean, here's what I'm saying. Why not go after Rick Perry for forced inoculations with a shot he knew was killing people in the trials?
Sure, absolutely.
Why not the highways handed over to foreign companies? Why not?
Yeah.
I just got a bad feeling about this whole thing.
Or even Rick Perry's dirty real estate deals. Any national media listening, you need to learn about the Horseshoe Bay real estate deal where they sold him the land.
Listen, I want to stop right there because I haven't had time to vet any of that.
Okay, all right.
That came out in major mainstream press.
Okay, I remember hearing about it. Okay, Richard, you go ahead.
Well, I don't recall the exact details. I'm sure Robert knows all the chapter and verse, but that was in mainstream press. The Horseshoe Bay story did.
Let me try it. Now, I remember seeing it.
It was covered by the Dallas Morning News. They detailed it in the fall of 2010 before the governor's election.
Exactly. I do remember it was
basically
during
they were selling Rick Perry a lot at way under market value. Like the lot's worth $450,000. His friends gave it to him for $300,000.
No, that's like Hillary and the cattle futures. They only gave them winners. The oldest payoff in the book is they wink, wink, buy this for nothing. We'll buy it for 3 times what it's worth, or wink, wink.
Alex,
we'll sell you stuff at half price.
7 years later, when the lot was market value based on comparables worth $800,000, another crony paid Rick Perry $1.1 million and $50,000. So what's the common theme here? The common theme here is Rick Perry, crony capitalism, corruption, and compromise in his personal life.